or not of this terminology, it's the environmental intelligence, economic lens to it. So, several activities we've done, we've promoted certain circular economy business models, like the circular economy or service and so forth. And we've had a speaker series that's given real examples, both at the business level, at the NGO level, at the policy level. And another activity that we've recently embarked on are the circulars, which is awards platform, a way of really celebrating leaders in their economy. We divided this up into 5 awards. One is an award for circular economy leadership to an individual who's demonstrated inspirational leadership in the journey towards the circular economy. Another is the award for circular economy entrepreneurship, to honor early stage organization at the heart of a circular economy demonstrating innovation and market disruption. Another is the award for circular economy pioneer, an award for an established organization demonstrating innovation in existing business. 2 more, there is the award for circular economy digital disruptor, to recognize a company who is disrupting business as usual by enabling the circular economy with data-driven technologies. And third, for circular economy cities and regions, a city or region which best enables an environment for the circular economy to develop. Awards, again, we aim to highlight and celebrate leaders in the space and cause a lot more attention to what we're doing, and hopefully internalize and take best practices to apply to their own organizations. Now, this in Davos, and it was really a fantastic event. This is Davos 2014, and we were proud to announce a new co-chair of the task force, Ida Auken, who's a former Danish Minister of Environment, and she brings a wonderful energy, know-how, and accomplishments to the space. So we're really thrilled to have Ida as part of this journey. And the party, which was recently sponsored by Accenture, we had over 60 business leaders or 60 leaders from different sectors. And it was really a standing room only, for one, or no chairs, but it was at capacity. And it was a wonderfully exciting event. What was reassuring is the strong expression of support. So we felt that this was embraced by the Davos community, and it was with space. So people wanted to see the circular economy expand into areas of Davos. This was a full circular economy meeting at Davos, with a bunch of different meetings in the tent outside of the main Congress Center, and the level of activity within this space is expanding exponentially. And again, the response from the Davos community was fantastic. People wanted to see this and wanted to be successful. So, from a process standpoint, the nominations are now open. Everyone can go visit a website that to Accenture, more specifically Quentin, who's on the call, for helping pull this together. So look at the website called thecirculars.org. There's the web address down at the bottom of the slide. And smartly put together, you could go navigate around it, and this is where people can apply for the circulars. And now we're working to convert enthusiasm into action. And there's ways we could do so. Next slide. And if you make this interactive, I understand you're on, so if you want to emphasize any particular points, please jump in. How the task force can help. Next slide. Everyone can do is get the word out. So draw a lot of quality candidates to submit for this awards for these 5 different categories. So get the word out to positive again, it's regions, leaders, small companies, big companies, digital companies that are appropriate for the award. The submissions are going to go through the end of September, which was chosen to be right after the annual meeting of the champions in Tianjin. And at a standpoint, the finalists will be announced. We have a group of about 15 judges. The finalists will be announced in October. They're selected in November, and we're going to have an award ceremony in Davos 2015 with dinner. And we're going to get this into the greater Davos community. So this really be put up on a platform and, again, show the world what's possible, lead by example, inspire others to reach for these very important goals. People help by just encouraging people to submit, but helping create excitement to get the word out from a publicity standpoint, and to secure sponsors. I'll get into that in a moment, but all of this comes with there's a requirement just for resources, both from a PR standpoint as the dinner and things like that. Judging entries and judging information. This will be asked to take written submission to set out their case, and they'll be again available at thecirculars.org. And this will make a maximum of 1 submission per category, and they could apply in the future. There's no number of entries that will be considered. All entries are accepted. There aren't companies or individuals entering in consecutive years. And it's going to be 2 rounds. First, the round of initial screens where entries each log on category and are considered against a standard making scheme by the assessment panel. The panel there may be some back and forth requesting further details, and output from the round will be a selected 5 shortlisted entries, or at least for each category. And 2 categories in any year. The winner for judging panel will have 5 nominees in each category to make a 3-minute online presentation, question and answer. And on the basis of the written entry and the presentation, the panel will select 1 winner and 1 runner-up in each category. The entry, the list of questions for the entrants, and this is the first time we're doing this, so we invite full criticism on how we could improve the process, the questions, the level of questions. If there's a different category of judge we should bring into the process, feedback is most welcome. And again, I encourage you to go to thecirculars.org to get feedback, more information on the process. Sponsor packages. So we have a sponsorship package for the awards that will allow sponsors to align themselves with their economy best practices. So what this is naming rights to one of the award categories. It could be the award for leadership in a circular economy. We'll have access to have a short speech on stage to present the award. We'll have branding on stage, on the stage in the award ceremony, at the award ceremony. We'll have a bit of supporting media releases and points of view during 2014. The branding includes supporter all communications on the website. We'll have a on the judging panel for the awards and a slot in the speaker series. So there's a lot to offer here, and we're looking forward to what we build out in the sponsorship space. So thanks in advance for bringing to potential sponsors or maybe your own organization or that you know. Yeah, you could reach out to either Peter, Ida, or myself as this unfolds, this effort unfolds. Task force can help. So we went over some of this, but to encourage consider your organization work with should put forward an award. And we'll send information materials again that you can pass on to prospective participants. So it's in a subsequent email as well. Sort amongst your network to identify entrants, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, word of mouth. And here we'll provide a media package for you to utilize. And next is solicit sponsors, as we just went through, suggesting who'd be interested in sponsoring awards, and so that's appropriate. We'll provide a sponsorship brochure outlining sponsorship options to these various organizations. Anything else we can do? This is the first time we're doing this. There's probably a lot of smart ideas from the group. Welcome. Next. Next slide. With that, if there are any specific questions while we're waiting for the next slide, I'm not sure if people did it or they can type in a chat and ask a question, but feel free to do so.
Sorry, Dave.
I'm excited about this effort, and yet the responses so far have been extremely positive from the community as well as from within the World Economic Forum organization. We'll also share one of the judges is Ellen MacArthur, who's an organization called the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Here he's moved to the first slide, and how appropriate. There's Ellen MacArthur is one of the past selected speakers. This was learned about 3 years ago, and it's moving with wonderful speed. And they formed something called the Circular Economy 100, which are 100 companies that are leading on the circular economy. And this is one of the low-hanging fruits, if you will, in terms of tapping resources, potential companies to or be nominated into the circular economy, nominate themselves. Just a lot of synergies going on between the World Economic Forum, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and a big thanks to them who spread the word. So moving in, we spoke about the different efforts of the Circular Economy Task Force, and one that's has wonderful success and some we're going to continue is the Leader Series. And again, the idea is to showcase these NGOs, policymakers that are moving and pushing more circular economy methodology, and it's to inspire as well as share best practices. So speakers include the Blue Economy, Gottfried, Alex Lassie, the founder and president of Opower, Mark Boland, the CEO of Marks & Spencer, Bill McDonough, the author of Cradle to Cradle and Remaking the Way We Make Things. So we've had, on average, probably about 9 speakers a year for the past 3 years, and that's something we're going to continue. We're on the right are a list of future speakers, so there's a lot more to look forward to, include about 9 minutes with David Gottfried, of the founder of World Business Council as well as U.S. Business Council. And then, Peter, if you're on, if there's anything you'd like to emphasize in all of this, please jump in.
Thanks, David. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Peter.
Okay, good. Yeah, David, I've been on... I joined a couple of minutes late and enjoying the delights of Chinese telecommunications, but you can hear me okay. No, I think you have an excellent overview. I think the point I would simply reinforce is that this is a collaborative exercise, that it's our first year. I think there's a lot of learning by doing going on. So I think, just to reiterate your point, that we would really welcome people's feedback on one hand, and we would welcome people's a bit push this through their channels and make sure we get some really great entries. 2 points.
Thank you very much, Peter.
For example, products as a service. While we wait, I'll give an example of the.
So I had a question from one of the attendees.
Yeah, Priv Bradu from Blue Oak. I just had a quick point that I wanted you guys to be aware of. The entry forms on the website, that link doesn't work. So I thought I'd get up to speed on that.
Thanks for that. The entry forms will be going up very shortly indeed. So back next week, and they should be.
But it's a very good collaboration and learning by doing. Thank you very much, though. We appreciate it. And interestingly, I don't know whether it was included in the slide presentation, Quentin, but one of the ones we were going to add was digital, right?
Yeah, that's right. So the digital category was mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, any more questions on the call? I think initial comments, initial feedback. Be very interesting to hear reactions from some of you guys on the line. I'm just going to now unmute you all so that if you do have a comment, we can hear you. There will be a bit of background noise whilst I do so, but please bear with us whilst people have their say. All off mute now. So please, any questions, please put them to David. Well, fantastic presentation, David, because
no, silence is taken as being full endorsement and commitment to push this through the channel. I mean, look, I look at judging by the people you said were on the call, Quentin. I can't see, but it's a fantastic group of YGLs who've been close to this, so I don't think there are any surprises. So I think now, the key point, David, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but what agreed is that has managed to carve out some time on our side for Quentin to spend some with their marketing folks from our side to try and really now ramp this up to the visibility of the awards. But the more the better. So just watch out for that.
How asking for in terms of sponsorship? Is it one package and you get all of those things, or?
Correct. One package gets those things. The number is $30,000. Quentin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the last number.
That's the figure that we're aiming for.
And how many sponsors are you looking for?
One for each category, so 5 sponsors. In fact, we have preliminary interest from 3. More than preliminary interest. We have interest from 3 that we're working to close. Yeah, welcome people's idea. If that's how that strikes the group, give they're getting in return. I think this goes without saying, but just to make sure, this is a non-profit entity, and whatever money's raised goes into the circular economy. All the efforts, especially Accenture, have been graciously just to date. So we're getting to that witching hour, so perhaps we should start transitioning to David Gottfried's presentation, which will start in 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So David is on the line. Hello, David. I hope you can hear us.
Can you hear me? Hello?
You can hear you, David. Fantastic. Thank you for joining. We're about 2 minutes to the hour, so thank you very much for all the callers who have dialed in for the YGL portion of the call. We will be having additional calls all over the next few minutes to hear David speak. If I could beg your patience and perhaps we wait for a couple of minutes, David, before you commence your talk, and in time I will clear out my screen so that you can line up your presentation.
Okay, good. I don't see that option to upload yet. I see a speaker series.
Yeah, so David, do you want me to show the presentation and move the slides, or do you want to control that yourself?
To upload as we did yesterday, but I don't see that part. I do that yet.
Yeah, okay, I'm just handing you control now, David. Yeah. Is uploading his presentation. Just a little bit of housekeeping for the call. We've got a lot of people on the call, so I have put everybody, apart from David, on mute at the moment. So if you want to speak at any point, remember to take yourself off mute. Best way of doing it is if you have a question for David as we go through, just pop it on the chat function to me at the bottom of your screens, and then we'll moderate those questions and put them back to David at the end of the call. So
it's not letting me share the file. I'm clicking on it, but it's out.
Let's try this, David.
Yeah, that'll work. Very good.
I've got connected twice for some reason. Quite a lot of people joining now. Could I just remind you to put yourselves on mute if you're not speaking? Are you able to do the sharing now?
Yeah, I'm still waiting. Should be able to see you there.
Yeah.
It's uploading. Try it one more time. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there.
So for those of you on the call, at the top of your screens, you may see various different tabs. Quart, Meeting Info, YGLC Task Force, and Gottfried Explosion Green Live. Make sure you've clicked on the Gottfried Explosion Green Live tab to view the presentation. We've got a fantastic turnout. We've got lots of people on the call here. So again, can I just remind people who have just joined to put yourself on mute when you're not speaking. And if you have questions for David as we progress through his presentation, please put them on the chat function to me at the bottom of the screen there. And I'll moderate those and put them to David at the end of the session. So we're going to leave about 10 or 15 minutes at the end for questions. But without further ado, I'm going to pass over to David Rosenberg to formally introduce David Gottfried.
Hi, thanks, Quentin. And just checking, can you hear me okay?
You're fine.
Okay. This is a huge pleasure to introduce David Gottfried, who is a friend as well as just true inspiration. David is for transformation. His impact is the global building industry for more than almost any other person. I founded both the U.S. Green Building Council and the World Green Building Council, with building councils in 100 countries. David's work tenure has included real estate development, construction management, building ownership and property management, strategic consulting, network management, and venture startups. He earned a degree in electrical management from Stanford, where he serves as a regular lecturer. And having spent time with David and seeing the early starts of the U.S. Green Building Council and World Green Building Council, it's wonderful to see something go from a small entity to having huge global impact. And his leadership has just been tremendous in pushing and catalyzing this true north. So really fortunate to have you here with us today, and looking forward to talking to David. Please go ahead.
Here, and thank you, David. I'm related because my mother's maiden name is Rosenberg, and I have the same first name. So related in green.
Yeah.
Great to address everybody. Exciting to save the CO2 from having to fly around the world to see you. And latest initiatives are all called Explosion Green. It's a 20-year celebration of the green building movement here. And dive in, mostly talk about green building, try and pull this to the topic of the circular economy and thoughts on the future. I've been in building for about 30 years, started off life as a real estate developer, at a solar engineering student at Stanford. But we make buildings that don't squash the earth, and as we're reading now with the latest UN IPCC reports, we need to accelerate greatly what we're doing in 15 years in terms of carbon mitigation, and that it much more dramatically than ever. If you want to do that, you have to deal with building. Pretty much everything happens at the building or a home, and in between we're driving to it. So building a destination. Engineers, I mentioned, engineers who sleep when waste in a system. And the essence of no waste is value. And so we're trying to build together what you call the circular economy, which is no waste, and value has no waste. And it is not only changes in the atmosphere and CO2 heating up, acidification of the ocean, that are ground, soil that's dirt, but the waste in our brain and intellectual capacity. And our grandparents would call it sechel, in Yiddish for wisdom. And you design a building, you make a car, you build a road, our team hired to their full capacity. So there's a system with no waste whatsoever and utilize their intellectual potential and not waste of their brain capacity. And buildings, the way we hire people, the way we set budgets, the way we get the process has enormous waste so we don't get to net positive. In value and waste, I call it the value ring. And the design problem we're all trying to solve is to ensure life, the bold V1. And it should manifest itself around ensuring that bullseye of life. Life for us, life for the other living things here on Earth, which we seem to think that we share nature together. The second prioritization is V2, life sustaining, and is greater than V2. So that you need life sustaining air that you can water, you can drink, and create plant life, agriculture. Soil can grow. You to prevent you from freezing in the cold. They're all life-sustaining elements. Is V3. Now that you have life and life-sustaining, you can do services of life, whether it's agriculture and economy for business, government, community, and products and goods V4, and life enhancement. Products and goods, but it might be a snowboard. But V is greater than V2. And all things we're designing have to follow this methodology or have waste. And build a new blueprint that's performance-based. It understands the life cycle, valuation, and this short-term, the whole life cycle or cradle to cradle as you're thinking, integrating things like biomimicry and nature into the system, and then the right project management process to understand data collection and performance. You get a continuous improvement and then transparency and knowledge share. And that's what we did in the building industry. We're not done, we're just starting the journey even though we're 20 years in. I did in 93 with the U.S. Green Building Council, our vision of this new blueprint, which I established with Italiano, with Federici 20 years ago. I personally funded it and had this vision of greening the U.S. building industry by gathering everyone at the table, architects, but engineers, owners, cleaning companies, utilities, product manufacturers, tenants, student scientists, all pieces of the orchestra in the room to play the symphony together. What's happened is just astounding. Over our 20 years now, we have 50,000 organizations, 260 staff, 80 chapters. We invented LEED as our defining manifesto and rating system and certification system of building, and have almost 200,000 projects around the world in 140 countries. Many of your countries, probably all of them, have buildings. We create a professional accreditation called LEED AP exam. 200,000 people have taken the exam, plus Green Associates. The local, federal, state governments are mandating LEED. We have tax credits to LEED. Nevada, where the GM City Center project, $7 billion, got 30% off their real estate taxes for 10 years if they were LEED silver. Tax credit was worth $20 million. And so I'm an advocate. Many can think we are the fastest growing nonprofit in the world. And of LEED products, we start with new construction to existing buildings, commercial core and shell homes. They went to neighborhoods and application guides because laboratories and campuses we don't fit the normal lead-in. The adapted to us. The whole industry really with enormous economic growth in projects and wealth. Those both in lead over the years in large new construction were at 60% of the market in the U.S. 60% market, that's enormous. In overall projects, so projects are smaller, we're a little lower. 60% market is in terms of floor area ratio. At GBC, I could see it was going to go global, and Japan invited me to welcome the Japan Green Building Council in '98. And as a year man, I stood on stage through first translation as well. We have, and now we have Japan announcing the formation of the World Green Building Council. Of course, no bylaws, no committee, lots of vinegar, cold doable. Now, since the first vision in '98, we formed in '02 Secretariat in Toronto, and there are councils either established or forming in other countries. So probably one of your countries has a Green Building Council, and it's size from these and a nonprofit board. They're all nonprofits, and the U.S. with the 260 staff. Licensing lead, I think, countries, and creating their own rating system. Australia with Green Star, or Japan with CASB, or China with STAR. And there's been incredible. The World GBC, really a UN and GBC, to help develop a Green Building Council to adopt or build their own rating tool. It's rating neutral and support each other with best practices, to have green buildings around the world. And then even deeper and look at equivalencies of the rating systems and the BTUs per square foot, and learn together the economics of green buildings, of the regulation of green buildings, how to accelerate this in every structure on Earth. Rating seals that you may know. The DGN is in Germany. You see Canada in the middle from Japan. Has been first to integrate in BIM modeling into it and taught the rest of us how to do it. Green Steps, he had a design certificate for Design It Green, certificate to build it green, and one to operate it. In it, and brought us in lead to separate design credits from our construction credits. I learned that from Green Star. Green is in Singapore. Bottom left is standard 5281 in Israel. All prolific HT is France. All creating rating tools. We're learning. We're sharing. And we're going in Europe. And for now, we're having mandatory energy efficiency disclosure in property. When you sell them, when you even operate them, using, such as California here or the U.S., you have Energy Star, and buildings above 50,000 square feet are going to have to disclose their energy performance from 0 to 100. In the EU, it rolls out into homes, as does Australia. Disclosure and transparency in energy is growing. I think it'll roll deeper from the energy into the structure, and to water, into air quality, and into transparency. Government, huge entity in green building, from the beginning, with the tax credits, with research funds, with regulation. Utilities have gotten in the game as well. If you 20 years of transformation, we probably more for building industry than any industry has green, and other industries are studying our model. And in Vision Green, we study what are the 14 that allow us to green this $5-6 billion industry, and apply this to your field of coming together, a nonprofit, open coalition, setting your goal, creating a nonprofit organization, defining what you're about, which we use and lead with the tool and certifying to it, the training, such as our lead accredited professional exam. We have Green Build, but there's also Eco Build in the UK. Invited to Singapore's Green Build, and then last year in Israel with 700 green building people there. Products and services and goods can flow on that new green highway. Government mandate to it or create incentives like tax credits, my favorite thing, and have codes, building codes contain split case benefit analysis, retracement studies, awards, and go regional and global, and then you start over again for your continuous improvement. That's changing and green a home in this way. You can green the world's largest industry. And capitalism, one, it has to be good in terms of return on investment and rate of return. McGill has been doing this along with World GBC. If you put the URL down here, this is a business case for green building. Incredible statistics of growth. Will melt down over the 2006 it started. Green has only been growing while the rest of the market was contracting. In 2016, they project the green building market to $200 billion according to McGraw-Hill. In 2008, when the market of commercial non-residential was declining, green was growing in the bottom. Statistics in as well, where we had an enormous crash, and you see green building grow in 2016 to 117 billion in homes and apartments. And it's a sector. You can see in office over the years, to 54% in the 2012. Same for hotels and retail, healthcare, education. Builders that are adopting higher levels of green in all projects. This was taking 1915 craftsmen and making the highest rated loam in the world, even though I restored all that beautiful wood of the craftsmen and detail. And we blazed into the wall. We put all space. We put in new dual pane windows fitting into these craft mullions. We have water systems to collect sink water, and every inch of rainwater that hit the property either was captured for the toilets or the landscaping rain barrels, or it went down to recharge the aquifer. Our green cotton has been growing in firms and contractors. Almost every big firm and many small ones have got the game. It's really negligent if not playing in building, and you call yourself a professional in these areas. Have been measured by CoStar, by Hill, by Greg Katz, Niels Koch, you might out of the Netherlands. Some of the average benefits of green building that have been documented in thousands of case studies. Your higher, your occupancy is because of less hot and cold. People stay in that building. They like the individual control, the better air, the less off-gassing, the volatile organic compounds, energy, water, waste. Costs are down 13%. Overall, that gives you a higher building value as well as a building capitalization rate that assessors use and buyers to calculate value, which gives you 10% higher ROI. those metrics of owners of banks or financiers, and that's the language we need to use to talk about green. It's not about trees or doing the right thing. It's about economics, whether or not you want lower risk as well as you build into the future and faster wealth through the economy. And higher value for all the stakeholders, whether the developer, the tenant, or the owner. And very much part of it, you have low risk in a building, resiliency risk, regulatory risk, tenant lease-up risk, financial risk, health and well-being. That's part of this as well. We have a whole initiative. And articles all over the world are talking about higher value. This is cool. When I was in Australia giving some lectures, they have very credible institutions. Green Star buildings had an 8% value that had used Neighbors Energy 5 system like Energy Star here in the U.S. Rents for value. One of my is a and they have 20 certified buildings, and I believe 20 of them are LEED Platinum. And they took these 3 tower buildings of their headquarters, square feet, 100,000 square meters, and all LEED Platinum, even though existing buildings, and they Star score close to perfect, all of them at 100, doing 64 measures, $0.4 million investment. They $390,000 in base from the utility with an IR of 121%. That's phenomenal. We're about 2% in our banks now. What they did is they individually listed every measure they did and turned on an investment per measure. And that was exciting. Greening is about health and productivity. This is some of our greatest work now with disclosures. They're called health product declarations and more advanced rating systems that are than LEED called the Living Building Challenge. Inside the Building Challenge, it has a red list and 11 products are PCs like you ban in Europe. Others are things like asbestos and endocrine disruptors. And we're in the improvement of productivity inside our buildings so that better, and through better daylighting, better air quality, better individual control, the workers are producing better in these buildings. And we spend $3 a square foot for energy in the U.S. for an ad office building. We spend about $300 a square foot the salary. So it's 100 times the energy bill. But if you percent improvement in health productivity, it's the same as the entire energy bill. It went up about 1 million jobs during down economy in building with argument there. Major areas, again, we're seeing risk reduction, physical and market. We're getting into the circular economy more and look how we build the product and the material. You can't have a discussion with asking how much does green building cost, and I'll show an average of 2% more. Anywhere from 0.6 for a LEED certified level to just 7% for platinum. Figures are a little old. As we get more and more buildings, they're coming down. Doing a better early study. The city of Seattle has done dozens of greens for the government. Initially, they're at 4% higher first cost, and after the 4th or 5th building, they're at 0 because of a learning experience. The pull-through of green ideas and biomimicry in product creation. Play with a lot of startups that are raising hundreds of millions of dollars in venture capital. One of them is called View. Vino Koshla is a billionaire, close venture partners, received over $1 billion from CalPERS, our pension fund. Investors have put $150 million into view that our glass can go from clear to dark, putting an electronic signal through it. And the shading coefficient of the glass changes. If the sun starts beating up on your glass and creating heat that you don't want in the building, the heat can change, omitting heat and glare. And that allows you not to have window blinds and keeping the heat out and let the light in. You can less conditioning, a lower VAC cost, and lower lighting cost, and higher productivity. It's $1 trillion market. Here's the firm I'm playing with in the plug load arena. As you green buildings, you can see inside in 1970, the mechanical heating ventilation costs were the highest for energy. The blue is lighting. The third was the gray plug load. Move to the right towards 2020, and you get the VAC down through more efficient systems, and the light down through LEDs and lighting sensors and data control. Then the plug loads, the things we plug into the wall, become the highest energy, and that influences demand power as well. And Meta is a firm that has intelligent surge strip that's going to pull into outlets in the wall that read through the cloud every single thing plugged into the wall. And you can control it as well as read the signature electronically. And during power, you can start shutting things down, like the copier, laptop. Gives a laptop an ROI. This kind of control that wallet is very exciting and saves us up to 50%. Another direction I like a lot is prefab buildings. And a cool one called Project Fraud. It's fixed prefab. It's more like Lego. And they have a catalog that's a kit of parts. And the architect or contractor owner can build a building with the parts like Lego. And parts are made in a factory, so minimal waste. And to the site, a concrete pad is over, hopefully with CO2 embedded or fly ash, up to % recycled content, and up in weeks, not years or months. And their motto is better, faster, cheaper, and green. And they venture capital. They're doing school buildings, military buildings, MRI centers. They can go 3 stories now. Working firms, I believe, like McDonald's and Starbucks. And so there's no we need to do custom anything. We could have parts of Lego. Firms that are sequestering CO2, coming from plants, natural gas plants, and cement plants, which is another Coca investment, and it's a startup called Planet. The same CEO founded both and studied the coral reef, which fired white substance CO2 at ocean with no heat. And your beautiful calcium carbonate structure. And in different, they're looking at applications of replacing port cement and having even carbon neutral, carbon negative cement, or replacements for hardy panels. And this is an enormous play with a huge sequestration opportunity. Our regenerative network is also playing in this sphere with the idea of bringing companies together to create a network effect. And huge owners like Walmart, Brandywine, Bar, and brainstorm from a technology point of view to make the structure better. We figure out how to bring one carpet company, because we're exclusive one company per every vertical. So we have a regenerative balance sheet, network information in 4 areas out of 100 points: corporate culture, environmental impact, social impact, data and reporting. It's 200 line items. It takes about 4 to 5 hours for us to rate a company. It's kind of like GRI points, the global EPDs and HPDs are very important. The architects and engineers for building products, environmental product declaration. It's kind of the nutrition food label that you see on food boxes, but building products so you can compare apples to apples. And that's this explosion green. Where we're today is just limiting the damage, number one, which lead platinum is just let back. Even saying energy 30 to 50%, you're still not neutral, which is the second tier. We're net zero energy project, zero waste, net zero water. But that are these positive buildings that are generating more energy and they consume and feed it back to the grid. They capture more water through rainwater and on site with black water systems and put it back either in landscaping, the rechargeable aquifer, and those are regenerating. And then we need to go now. Technology is available. The living dimension of the cradle, all advanced systems, net zero certifications. That list is part of the Living Building Challenge, which requires a building zero energy, water, and waste, and meet list of not having any of the 11 products in the building. We're going to see Google, Facebook, the Bowl Center in Seattle, one of the best employs those. Goals to green building and trying to address those over the 20-year history was breaking standard practice, getting the data, educating, changing code, bringing to the equation, and then being transparent, and then finding value. We've had the key is that wherever you are today and what you're pioneering today is not what you'll be tomorrow because you'll learn. More of a run. When you get out of the water, you still have to get on the bike and do the run. And it's a journey, it's not a destination. And journey of continuous improvement. What's next, and there are many things that all do I mentioned the bullets, but social performance is at the table with link systems for the people. Are they diverse? Are you treating them equitably? What are labor standards? Do they have opportunities? And that's the bottom line. And it's sort of the stool that's gotten the least attention. And eco-districts are hot now and going global. And there's a nonprofit on this topic. The city movement. I have a friend who creates cities of the future. He's doing a city in India for 1 million people. He's studying how we make the city, looking at water and waste systems. He was at black water treatment, pulling the natural gas, human feces out of it, and 80% of the energy of the city came from our twos. And it was counting. No cars in the city. They're all little micro electricals run, kind of like Newland. Greg is Niels Cook out of Netherlands, is a group of all the portfolio fund investors in the world. I think he's got $7 trillion, and he's a rating tool for that investment real estate portfolio on green, and 40 pension funds in the world are required. You ought to check that out at GRASB.com. And there's SASB.org, that the Sustainable Accounting Standards Board, a friend of mine, Jean Rogers, and she's doing, like, have the FASB financial standards. She's doing alongside that green standards, vertical sectors. And she's 13 companies that are publicly listed playing with her creating standards funded by Bloomberg. A very initiative, huge potential, and looking at materiality in corporate reporting, and materiality includes carbon disclosure and pulls into these standards. We've talked about clean technologies. Water, there's just issues all over the world, and we're talking about climate change, but water's next. And so we need to pick up. In California, our governor signed a water emergency. In Queensland, Gold Coast almost ran out of water. You guys have done biomimicry. I interviewed Janine Pearson. She's, studied adaptation of all that's on Earth and how did species that are still here adapt instead of becoming fossil. And there's a lot of the cycle and the up cycle coming, very interesting. Evan's reinventing fire. Just interviewed him. The car hopefully is coming. Globally, that's how it's selling over the next 15 years. Kind of CO2 equivalency goes to green public offerings when you company, and especially positive, and always about green life. Water, here's a slide that I like to open up that's important. And up here, I wanted to tell you a little bit about a free opportunity I'm doing May 12th through 16th called Green Life. I interviewed 40 gurus like Janine Benyus, Gunna, Amory Lovin, Gene, all these people I'm mentioning. I did a 5-minute interview. What are they doing today? What's disruptive in their work? What hope? Why climb the hill that seems steep and its precipice is falling down? And drilling with no slides into the heart of their content. I interviewed all out of Australia, who's been a Green Star, and Jane Hay of the World BBC, and I'm going to have David Adage out of the UK, one of the biggest architects, and looking for what is the doable light in the world to hope, to build on the circular economy, and give it to the world. If you go to explosiongreen.com, you can for free. There's a link there. And May 12th, the 40 interviews are playing, me interviewing all of them. And it's free the whole week for you, the whole company, the whole world. So I'd love to get the word out. I spent 40 hours reviewing them and tracking down my book, Explosion Green, which is now hitting Amazon and the bookstores, with 20-year story that I just shared with you in this slideshow, build the fastest green and then sharing how we succeeded, how we failed, learned, and then what's next. And so it's great to address you guys, and so excited for the work you're doing. My mission in life, your career, is to look at the future and from the past, and really, why are we here with us? What's our mission? But what can we do better? How to heal this beautiful planet we were given? How to heal our soul? How can we create a better economy? So when you make $1 billion, you've done something good. You've actually planted seeds for transformation and hope. And that's here, encouraging you to similarly keep up your good work and to thank you for your good work, and you can plant those seeds with everything you do to more money, to low risk, but building it that's worthy of our children and future. So thank you much for this opportunity.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I just want to check. Can you guys hear me? Dave, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, on behalf of Lacey, Quentin, the Women Forum, the task force, myself, thank you very much, David. You are a true force in this movement and a tremendous amount here to learn from. Building off your comment, look at the future and learn from the past. Working upon accomplished with Building Council and move forward, what way you learn could be applied to the next kind of step in the journey, which is not just buildings, but companies and this economy.
About the open model and the way we've greened a lot of these buildings, hundreds of thousands, and the people, and now countries, we had an open model. In this, we always want to be closed. But with collaboration and your competitors, and we opened it up. Download for free from the website, usgbc.org. You can all the GBCs of the world. You know who you are. They're open nonprofits. I believe for-profit businesses can do the competition by close fearful to protect your IP. But there are things that a Microsoft can learn from a Google, can learn from a Facebook. They're all grouped together, data centers now. They're sharing low energy data center strategies in employee transportation systems. Just so much. It's opening up our models so there's more the X as opposed to the DOS, method.
Well, to build on that, if we look at the green building movement, so you have contractors, the Skanskas, Turner Explosives, you have the input suppliers, the Grays, the BASFs of the world, the Olsons, CMEX, those guys, are you talking about opening the model where those guys collaborating to get the economies of scale or the best practices working? Or are you talking about the Green Building Council opening their system? So great, because one of the barriers we're seeing in the circular economy is the competitors don't do a great job of collaborating. They might collaborate along their value chain, if you will, but direct competitors have a time, and that's tough to achieve certain economies of scale in terms of infrastructure of material pooling when you have competitors that have similar products, but they don't compete, they collaborate effectively to cover certain hurdles of infrastructure. So maybe do that again, that collaboration, in what area?
Forms. I speak to the world, I think it's the World Business Council. There's a concrete cement group globally. This Canada about 6 months ago. And in them was a whole system of bars and dozens of others. And together they were in the green rating system to measure themselves. I think things in ASD was anymore in financial measurement companies. Well, a lot of areas that companies, even if they compete, open up to the others and then measure themselves on a similar apples-to-apples scale. They can here in EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute, all the utilities got together and they fund shared research projects, even though they were competitive, to get infrastructure requirements of research. I found like 100 areas of commonality that were IP that they could jointly fund. And side of competitors getting that. And out of that transparency, how should they report together, such as SASB? SASB 88 categories, so the financial category, the kind of sit together and say, what are the risks in finance, what should be reporting, or joint standard look like, but do research together. And there are some breakthroughs in technologies that I think competitively could do together. So where it stops in the sharing and where IT kicks in is becoming much more gray, I believe.
Patterns at all where the big guys, the big entities might be more willing to collaborate or push forward in certain capital-intensive initiatives where the middle players remain aggressive, they just don't have the long-term view, or the small players don't have the resources to do so, or vice versa, the small players are willing to disrupt the status quo, the status quo and move forward. Do you see patterns in terms of who's going to move faster?
The question, David. You've got Saint-Gobain out of France, which hires 3,000 people. They can do amounts of research, work with UT, United Technologies. They have a research center. I think they have 400 scientists. Competitors in no, because they're so big, they can pay so much themselves. And Armstrong's Fire Research Lab, which was better than the government's Fire Research Lab. Constantly amazed that despite some of these big firms that could put in millions and millions, industry group for research, these little dinky startups with 10 people and PhDs, $7 million can disrupt them. And those bigger firms are maybe buying some of those smaller firms, and they need to study them as well. The smaller firms, we're seeing, because I'm in the Bay Area from high-tech Silicon Valley, some of the building industry firms, the CEOs are coming from high-tech, and they're inventing new ways that came out of high-tech into their systems. You might be a guy at Cisco who knows in that rather sensor technology. Now, are they sharing with the other small firms they're competitive with intellectual property? But they are merging acquisitions so they can compete with the big guys. The big are collaborating with their competitors, but it's mostly on transparency standards and rating, research, and China wall when it gets towards the intellectual property. I'm trying to answer the question. I'm a little hard out.
Moving back, what would you say was the tipping point when you do the World Building Council, the USB Building Council, when it was going to all of a sudden go from early adopter to mainstream, catalyst, and then building upon that, does the public side, is that important to do the carrot or stick work better in the?
Yeah, the GBC is now, as I mentioned, 21 years old. The first 9 years, we were pretty flat in our growth as the pioneer. And we started in about 92, 93. LEAD came out in 2000. And that was the start of the tipping point. And then government, in like Seattle and the federal government, the White House, started to support LEAD. And with major rankings, something that went nuts. The first years we had about 300 members. And 2 years after we had 1,000 members, then 10,000. then 12,000. So the goal was kind of our definition, and then government backing it. Carrot and stick, I like both. I believe in moving up codes and regulations and to go higher to that minimum bar. If you have and you break it, you're breaking the law. That's the minimum. But at higher levels, you need voluntary standards. But tolerate voluntary standards, I like tax credits, ordinances of government that says you build a taller building with this platinum extra. You can go to the front of the line for your building permit. It's gold, what San Francisco did, or half off your real estate tax bill. So I even care also adding the bar odes and standards and regulations. So I strategy. If I choose, I'd choose tax credits, dollar offset.
There is someone who's building a lead building right now. Those tax credits are meeting people, and sort of that extra, push one go higher. Part of the tipping point is the certifications, the lead standards. If the circular economy and how we rate organizations, not just buildings, and it sounds like you're doing that the regenerative network and these different defining criteria. Is a similar model be applied? Are you now looking to either get a standard of which to judge organizations and be successful? Is it, and then if so, does it look like you mentioned 300 to 5,000? Is that the critical that's needed? Is it where all of a sudden you have that tipping point? Okay, here.
Did invent the regenerative balance, a great tool. I made it as a screen, so it was fast, and an analyst could do it on publicly listenation. If you don't list, you score poorly, which rates transparency higher. I'm a little like what we're going to do with that, because the network is a private company, and it's staying dormant a little bit, looking for someone like Accenture to come forward. I mean, seed here, but there are green company rating systems. The magazines are doing that. I believe even Davos thing rates some companies, and very important. And I do believe we all companies, all buildings, we're raters, will rate homes and rate people with these personal accreditations, and rating our food, rate our air. Hopefully there'll be quality. In terms of tipping point, one point I forgot to mention is it has to be economic. And I think in my presentation that was kind of clear that it won't be a tipping point if you can't have an ROI, at least market-based, and even if it's better market, higher rate of return. And so the meaning of the economy is essential. But doing those, changing that economic calculation allowed externalities to come into play, so we use tax credits to get you to their payback period within 10 years.
So already, but we just have a flurry of questions coming in. Some real questions, too many to cover on this call, but just pick some of the ones that are there are big ones, but some of the ones. One, just innovation in general. you're getting a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe. What do you see as the major upcoming innovation that'll create a step change in transformation, whether it's in the building industry or abroad?
Well, the demonstration of CO2 into building materials, and so this could be the first sequestration of trees and forests. And that's significant. The demonstrations of trying to put it into ground just didn't work. That's a change. Sensor technology, you can sensor everything. I wear my up wristband, measuring how poorly I slept last night, and I had to get up early for the call today. It's whether I walked 10,000 steps yesterday. I'll be measuring my happiness index and ecological footprint. And then I'll share in the group with my wife so she'll know when I should come home or not. And sensor technology knows whether it rains, the water level of the soil, the daylight, the sun, the solar generation, the water level of the aquifer, the peak hour of the utility, when you should turn off your lights. It is, but just because we can have 7,000 sensors in a home. And the other part of it is data, and step change is big data in the cloud. And it can now take all the data that we collect every second and use artificial intelligence to for the data to navigate. And I think that's pretty exciting as well. And then health. We're having the list of products and the health product declaration, biomimicry. We Janine that you can hard from surface with 5 minerals only that are natural. You don't need the 300 ingredients. You have no external energy. And biomimicry for adaptation is a step change.
That vision into the future and what to be excited about is a great place to end it. David, thank you so much. This is truly enlightening. We could go all day and still have a lot to cover. One, for call out to Explosion Green, and big thank you for sharing what seems like a wonderful resource to everybody. explosiongreen.com. I look forward to hearing to all the interviews. Sounds fantastic.
Yes, please get the word out. I'm part of the World GBC in 100 countries, but I spent so much effort to get the word out. It's free during that whole week. So I'd love you to put it on your website, for social media, all your employees, and pick whichever interview they want. There's individual programming slots, and you have 4 hours from the time of the interview here to listen to it. And there you need to buy the conference proceedings because you can't make it, I think, before May 16th. They're $99 for 27 full-time hours. The ticket during the week when it's free. And report of that. So thanks, David, for bringing that up.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone from the task force, for your wonderful questions. Glad you joined today, and look forward to more exciting speakers to come. Wonderful, great day, evening, and take care, everybody.
Happy Earth Day.
Yeah, excellent. Happy Earth Day. Right. This was by no coincidence scheduled on Earth Day. So
my green. No. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, David. Thank you, YGL Task Force and all other guests. That concludes the call for today, and I'll now be closing the WebEx session. The recording of this session will be available online on the YGL YouTube channel in the very near future. Thanks. Goodbye.